Hello, good evening. Variety and diversity are the hallmarks of a characteristically busy week for the NNPC and indeed the Nigerian oil and gas sector. The issues and stories can't fit into one perspective of discourse except the perspective of authenticity which cuts across. Federal government continues to perfect the art of following the money for the nation's crude oil with 1.2 trillion naira royalty arrears to the good. We got stories on international collaboration and partnership on energy and capacity building, while NNPC keeps an eye on gas environment for industrialization. Gas stories usually have a composite peculiarity. This one is no exception. Plus, the things we know that OPEC does, there's one thing the body does not do. Its Secretary General espoused this lately. All hail the Akajiaku of Obinwanne Kingdom of Njaba local government, Imo State. It's been conferred much earlier, but the very busy GMD of NNPC was only available for the conferment just recently. So let's explore the diversity and variety of the package together. My name is Akin Agbejule. This is Oil and Gas Forum.
Every detail of capability that you need to run a global company starts in NNPC. They were very well trained, very well exposed. You had issues in terms of policies, but in terms of skill sets, solid. And if you look at the tons of Nigerians who have left the oil industry over the last 20 years and retirements, you have so much capability in terms of manpower resource, and we need to begin to harness all this.
No panic to buy fuel for black market. NNPC go bring fuel for all motorists.
NNPC say them get fuel jabrata for ground. Saboteur. All of una wey dey tiff with fuel and petroleum station where they hot smuggle and divert our fuel go neighboring country. Plus people where they build small tank and sell fuel past our government price of 145 naira per liter. Stop am o. Because why? Now big offense now. Now jail straight away. NNPC say our government no increase fuel price. Now still 145 naira per liter. So therefore no buy black market, no do panic buying. Enough fuel there we go round. Nigerians, if you see any petrol station where they sell fuel past our government price of 145 naira per liter, kia report to the nearest security agency when near you or the Department of Petroleum Resources. Na Ndu Ohamado, Group General Manager, Group Public Affairs Division, NNPC, sign this message.
Let's check the tip of the stories. Federal government generates 1.2 trillion naira royalty arrears from oil firms. NNPC eyes gas-based industrialization for Nigeria, even as it partners Tanzania to promote African cooperation and integration. Collaboration is the future of energy security, and that's what Nigeria and India are pledged to do. Fixing oil prices is not part of what OPEC does. It's coming from the authentic source, from the perspectives of the discerning giver and discerning taker. Traditional title and oil and gas can sometimes mix. We got the details. The Minister of State for Petroleum Resources, Dr. Ibe Kachiku, said that the federal government had generated 1.2 trillion naira in royalty arrears from oil companies operating in the country. Dr. Kachiku said this in Lagos while launching the Crude Oil and LNG Tracking Command Center and other initiatives by the Department of Petroleum Resources. He said the country had grappled with leakages in crude oil production for decades. Commenting on crude oil theft, he said the tracking would also help to address the gap between production and actual physical stock.
Crude oil theft is still there. Let's not pretend about it. Now, I think that under this government in the last 3 years, we whittled down significantly on that. Those of you who are very frequent in Nigeria will see that the level of activism in terms of bunkering has reduced significantly. But is it that it's 100% gone? No, of course not. It's there.
Dr. Kachiku added that the federal government has raised 1.2 trillion naira so far as a result of its aggressive royalty recovery program. It could be recalled that President Muhammadu Buhari, in his 2019 budget speech to the National Assembly, said the volatility in oil prices and disruptions in oil production delayed the plans to recover outstanding oil license and royalty charges, as well as the restructuring of the joint venture oil assets. The Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation, NNPC, said it was committed to pursuing the federal government's aspiration of aggressively deploying the nation's vast gas resources for economic growth. A release in Abuja by the corporation's Group General Manager, Group Public Affairs Division, Mr. Ndu Amadu, said NNPC Group Managing Director Dr. Mekanti Baru disclosed this while commissioning a $60 million Egbeoma gas processing plant in Ebede community, Ukwani local government of Delta State. Some of the targets under the various government policies, Dr. Baru observed, include the effective monetization of the nation's vast gas resources for sustainable economic growth and the complete end to gas flaring. In particular, GMD said the corporation was pursuing aggressive growth in domestic gas supply capacity from the current 1.7 billion standard cubic feet of gas per day to 5 billion standard cubic feet of gas per day in the medium term, a growth which he explained would come from the 7 critical gas development projects. According to him, aside the gas supply growth, the NNPC was equally committed to the expansion of gas pipeline infrastructure network system.
The development of this gas plant fits squarely into the federal government's gas aspiration of using gas as an enabler for energy independence, industrial development, commerce, and environmental and social sustainability.
The GMD urged operators whose assets are close to the plant and the OB3 pipeline to seize the opportunity by collaborating with PNG Gas Limited to supply gas to maximize the plant's capacity, access and commercialize all existing flares, and further develop the significant gas reserves of 1 trillion cubic feet of gas in the area. Earlier in his address, promoter of the Egbeoma gas plant project, Engineer Charles Osizwa, said the plant represented the success story of Nigerian engineering. He said that as an industry leader, NNPC had a major role to play in the galvanizing and bringing together the nation's gas producers with a view to creating a gas hub in the country. Nigeria and the Republic of India have pledged to work more closely to enhance energy security of both countries. The consensus came on the heels of a visit of the Indian High Commissioner to Nigeria, His Excellency Abayi Tako, to the Group Managing Director of the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation, NNPC, Dr. Mekanti Baru. A release by the corporation's Group General Manager, Group Public Affairs Division, Ndu Amadu, has said. The release stated that Dr. Baru, who acknowledged the role of Indian companies in Nigeria, called on them to extend their presence to the downstream sector of the petroleum industry to leverage on the enormous opportunities there. He assured the High Commissioner of NNPC's commitment to further strengthen the existing relations between both countries in the energy sector.
Bilaterally, we have very good relationship with the Indian companies and, of course, the government of India. So, coming here is the right thing to do. And for us, we are always ready to see that this bilateral relationship blossoms.
The GMD noted that with the refineries up for repairs, the corporation would need technical assistance from Indian companies. Speaking earlier, the Indian High Commissioner, His Excellency Tako, commended Nigeria for its supports to India in the area of energy security, stressing that Nigeria had been contributing significantly to India's energy needs. He said India was open to further strengthening its collaboration with Nigeria through regular dialogue and exchange of technical know-how.
India and Nigeria have, very close and very important cooperation in the petroleum sector. So it goes without saying that as the High Commissioner, I have to maintain very good relationship and continuous dialogue with Nigeria's leading petroleum sector corporation, which is NNPC.
He commended the Honorable Minister of State for Petroleum Resources, Dr. Ibeka Chiku, and the GMD on the successful hosting of the recently concluded Nigerian International Petroleum Summit, NIPS, while assuring of his country's continued support.
A major step in attaining sufficiency in domestic gas supply was taken by the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation, NNPC, in Abuja, with the execution of the final investment decision, FID, on the development of the 4.3 trillion cubic feet Asa North or Haji South fields, ANOH, in OML 21 between the corporation and its joint venture partners, among which are Shell Petroleum Development Company, Total Exploration and Production Nigeria, and Nigeria Ajip Oil Company. A statement by the NNPC Group General Manager, Group Public Affairs Division, Ndu Uhamadu, disclosed that the project, when fully developed, would add about 600 million standard cubic feet of gas per day to the national gas grid, with capacity to expand to 1.2 billion cubic feet per day, while another 197 million stock barrels of condensate will also be realized. Group Managing Director of the NNPC, Dr. Mekanti Baru, described the ANOH project as a critical gas supply hub in Nigeria's burgeoning gas infrastructure network, designed to provide the linkage between the eastern, western and northern gas pipeline system. Dr. Barrow, who was represented at the event by NNPC Chief Operating Officer Upstream, Malam Bello Rabiu, said the successful completion of the multifaceted project, which is an integral part of the 7 critical gas development projects, would be dependent on a number of critical success factors and enablers, which include synergy and teamwork between NNPC and all the key stakeholders. The NNPC GMD thanked stakeholders for signing the FID on the ANOH project after being on the drawing board for 14 years. He said the corporation and its joint venture partners have worked on all the issues and have developed a sustainable strategy to develop the considerable gas resources in Asa North or Haji South fields.
Finally, I would like to conclude with immense compliments to the NNPC, SPDC, TEPNG, NAWOC project teams and other critical stakeholders as we enter into the next major phase of this project, that is the engineering, procurement and construction of this project.
Mr. Osage Okombo, Managing Director, SPDC and Country Chair, Shell Companies in Nigeria, operators of the project, said Shell was committed to the successful implementation of the project. Osage, who commended the resilience, diligence and enthusiasm of the project team, emphasized that the project would offer immeasurable opportunities for Nigerian firms to benefit from engineering, procurement and construction contracts.
This is an important project for us, and we intend, along with our JV partners and very significantly NNPC, to deliver to schedule.
The Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation, NNPC, is collaborating with the Tanzania Petroleum Development Corporation in the area of capacity building to further strengthen the spirit of African cooperation and integration philosophy. Group Managing Director of the NNPC, Dr. Mekanti Baru, made this assertion while declaring open a 2-day capacity building workshop for some staff of Tanzania Petroleum Corporation at the NNPC Towers in Abuja. Represented by the Group General Manager, Corporate Planning and Strategy, Mr. Balawunti, the GMD, stated that the interface would give the NNPC the opportunity to share experiences that would help Tanzania guarantee energy security and add value to the standard of living of the Tanzanian people.
The spirit of African integration and cooperation, which is being championed by our leaders across the continent, has put us on a very good pedestal for us to be able to collaborate and continue to support one another, especially in areas that we have common interests.
Speaking in a similar vein, the Tanzanian High Commissioner, Muhidini Mboweto, said NNPC was chosen because it has enough cognate experience in the hydrocarbon industry that would impact the Tanzanian economy positively.
You are in the industry for more than half a century now. Nigeria, they have enough experience on this industry. So we believe we can benefit much by coming here.
Modestu Lumato and Safiel Msovu, who were part of the team, have these to say on what they have learned from the interface.
So far, we have gained enough information, which if we go back, when we start implementing ours, we have learned where we need to put more efforts.
We have taken a lot, and for me, most importantly, is how the trading activities within NNPC is organized.
On On the 27th of December 2018, history was made as the group managing director of the NNPC, Dr. Mekanti Baru, was conferred with the Akajiaku, meaning Hand of Wealth of Obinwanne Kingdom title of Njaba local government area of Imo State. Dr. Baru, who was on a national assignment at the time, received the paraphernalia of the title recently. In his acceptance speech, Dr. Baru pledged to use his office as a hand of wealth of the kingdom to continue to bring wealth to Nigeria and Obinwanne Umuaka Kingdom. His Royal Majesty Eze Justin Uzoma Ezeala, who handed over the title, said the Council of Chiefs unanimously resolved to confer the Akajiaku title on Dr. Baru because he has been able to create wealth for the nation through his office. The Organization of the Petroleum Exporting Countries, OPEC Secretary General, Dr. Mohammed Barkindo, said the exporting group was not in the business of fixing oil prices, while responding to comment on a U.S. House committee passing a bill targeting OPEC oil supply cuts. A U.S. House of Representatives committee approved a bill recently that would open up OPEC to antitrust lawsuits, but it was uncertain if the measure would be considered by the full chamber. Dr. Barkindo stated that OPEC was neither a cartel nor was it involved in the business of fixing oil prices, adding that it would be a misjudgment to accuse the organization of such. OPEC and a group of non-OPEC countries, including Russia, in an alliance known as OPEC Plus, are reducing oil output in 2019 to avoid a potential supply glut that would weigh on prices. A similar action in 2017 got rid of an earlier supply glut. The OPEC scribe said that the group was an open, transparent organization focused on assisting the oil market to remain on balance on a sustainable basis, which is a fundamental requirement of investors. He added that the international oil industry needed market stability to plan and invest in a predictable manner in order to guarantee future supplies. In another development, Venezuela's Nicolas Maduro has sought the Organization of the Petroleum Exporting Countries, OPEC, support against U.S. sanctions imposed on his country's oil industry, citing their impact on oil prices and potential risks for other members of the producers group. But a source familiar with the matter said OPEC, of which Venezuela is a founding member, had declined to make any formal statement. OPEC says it is concerned with oil policy, not politics. The request was made in a letter sent to OPEC Secretary General Dr. Mohammed Barkindo dated January 29 and seen a day after the United States imposed sanctions on Venezuelan state oil firm PDVSA. He wrote that OPEC should help to determine potential solutions based on the impact that this action has on the global energy market and the risk it presents for other countries of the organization. The National Bureau of Statistics has released the Gross Domestic Product GDP report for the fourth quarter of 2018, saying the economy recorded a growth rate of 2.38% year-on-year during the period. The Bureau said the oil sector had a real GDP growth rate of 1.62% year-on-year in the fourth quarter of 2018, indicating a decline of minus 12.81% points relative to the growth rate recorded in the corresponding quarter of 2017. The report stated that compared to the third quarter of 2018, the growth rate for the sector increased by 1.29% points. On an annual basis, real GDP growth for the oil sector, the NBS report noted, stood at 1.14%. It explained that the oil sector contributed 7.06% to real GDP in the fourth quarter of 2018, adding that during the period under review, the contribution of the sector to aggregate real GDP was 8.60%.
Hello, welcome to this segment of the program. My name is Julia Auta. In line with its commitment to diversify the nation's economy, the NNPC is spearheading the development of renewable energy in the country. To this end, the corporation has signed memoranda of understanding with some state governments in the country to kickstart the biofuel projects. On today's episode, we hit the streets to find out how much Nigerians understand by renewable energy and its place in the future energy mix of the country.
Renewable energy has to do with an alternative source for fuel. It will reduce the depending on the existing ones, such as gas, such as petroleum. Secondly, it will generate employment.
Because NNPC is investing in it, it's quite commendable. It means that NNPC is a patriotic corporate citizen of Nigeria, trying to help Nigeria to meet up with the trends in the other parts of the world.
Enough of all of this requirement for renewable energy and all of that, we have it. And if NNPC will pioneer it and encourage states to get onto it and all of that, I can bet you to a large extent, if one is not exaggerating, it can solve 35% to 40% of the issues of power in Nigeria.
Sugarcane is largely grown in the north, so I think it will create more jobs opportunity for them, at least, and this will bring more income for the farmers, including the cassava. It will bring more income for them, and at least the pressure on petrol will be reduced.
Renewable energy is derived from renewable resources which are naturally replenished on a human time scale, such as sunlight, wind, rain, tides, waves, and geothermal heats. This will in turn generate energy that produces no greenhouse gas emissions from fossil fuels and reduces air pollution. It will also reduce dependence on petrol and equally create economic development and jobs in the country. And this is the much time will allow us on this segment. Please stay with us for more on the program. Hello, good to have you join us once again on this segment of the program. My name is Faith Ayuba. Did you know that renewable energy is energy that is collected from renewable resources such as sunlight, wind, rain, tides, waves, and heat? Did you know that the Renewable Energy Division of the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation was established to pioneer and coordinate the development of the automotive biofuels industry in Nigeria? The initiative is a national response to the global aspiration to curb greenhouse gas emission by diversifying towards a low-carbon regime in a sustainable manner. Did you know that one of the primary aims is to link the oil and gas sector with the agricultural sector through the commercial production of biofuels from selected energy crops? Did you know that it serves as additional line of profitable business for NNPC, including food production and power generation? Did you also know that Renewable Energy Division of NNPC is aimed at diversifying the Nigerian economy, create jobs, and promote sustainable environment? Now you know. Please don't go away as the rest of the program continues.
Hello and welcome to Global Crude Oil Outlook. Oil prices rose to reach its highest so far this year as financial markets drew support from investor optimism that the United States and China could resolve their trade dispute. Brent crude futures were up 95 cents at $64.56 a barrel, down from a session high of $64.81, while U.S. West Texas Intermediate WTI crude futures rose 56 cents to $54.46 a barrel. The Organization of the Petroleum Exporting Countries and allies such as Russia and Oman have agreed to cut crude output by a joint 1.2 million barrels per day. That is 800,000 barrels per day, of which will come from OPEC. This week's positive tone in oil futures, however, has masked a dislocation in the physical markets. The steep rise in availability of U.S. shale oil is leading not only to a build in domestic inventories of crude, but also in refined products. The U.S. Energy Information Administration said Wednesday, U.S. crude stocks rose to their highest since November 2017 as refiners cut runs to the lowest since October 2017 to combat tumbling margins, particularly for gasoline. Prices for physical barrels of light, sweet crude that yield large quantities of gasoline have come under pressure. And that's about the size of crude oil outlook on this edition of the program. My name is Solomon Yopave.
Actually, there are no words enough to describe, the GND of NNPC. In fact, he has been doing a lot of things all over the country, and they are also visible. But this one is something else. I think that this is, an indication that we have gotten a round peg in a round hole.
Well, quite a loaded package, this edition of Oil and Gas Forum. We hope you found your own takeaways. On behalf of NNPC, have yourself a swell week. Bye.